Hello Stitchers, it's Chrissy, finally a farm girl, and I am here today to share with you up close and personal views of my releases for Nashville 2024. First, I wanted to say thank you to Needlework Retailer as well as Yarn Tree for hosting this magnificent event. It is a highlight in a Stitchy's year, or a Stitcher's year, I should say, for sure. I am so excited. This is year 2 for me at Nashville, and I hope that something that I show you speaks to your heart, makes you smile, brings back a sweet memory of yours. So let's get started. My biggest piece that size-wise that I would like to share with you today is called Main Street. Main Street was actually an exclusive from a retreat where I was the designer, and it is now time for me to release it to all of you. So this comes with a little bit of a story, and this is my time to share that. When I was asked to be the designer for a retreat in Michigan, first of all, that is my hometown. It is my husband's home state, I guess I should say, and it's where I was born and raised and grew up, and I did not leave Michigan until 1992. I have incredibly fond memories of Michigan, primarily main streets. We did a lot of camping, we did a lot of traveling when I was a kid, and I loved the most towns that had that one sweet main street that reminded you of old ways, which now for me is just when I was a kid. So when we lived in Clarkston, Michigan, which is what this model was mimicked after or inspired after for me, my sister and I would take bike rides, and we would go up to Main Street. There were no phones. We would pass the sweet little library. There was a bakery, and my family actually had a business in downtown Clarkston. I worked there. There just wasn't a weekend or a time that I can't remember where Main Street was a focus. It was a place to go where you knew everyone. So there was also a cute little side tidbit, and that was I was a huge fan, growing up in the 80s, of Bob Seager, who lived locally. And his big hit down on Main Street, when he posed for his picture of the cover album, he was posing in downtown Clarkston. So I'm going to show you that now and share the details. This is Main Street. The date on this, established 1837, was when Michigan gained its statehood. And of course the initials are mine. I just loved everything about creating this pattern. Michigan is known for their apple season and their apple trees. We had the United Methodist Church that was, at this point, is historic, I'm sure, but it's you have your white church, you have your Stitchy shop, you have your coffee shop. The bakery is modeled right off of what our bakery looked like, with a big picture window where you could look in at the baked goods. And there is a fabric shop that it models or mimics another storefront, but it was not a fabric one, because what I did was I thought, how fabulous to take the Main Street theme and turn it into what I would want to be my Stitcher's Main Street. So I think the most perfect day would be to be able to grab a cup of coffee and go to the bakery and check out both your fabric as well as your stitchy things. So this is Main Street, and let me give you the details. It was stitched on 30 count Weeks Dye Works fabric, and it was called Parchment. The stitch count is 306 by 106, and it was stitched with a combination of DMC and Weeks Dye Works. Now I had this double matted, and it has a nice simple border, and you could easily change the date of statehood to your own state. and maybe even some details from a Main Street that you're fond of and have sweet memories. So let me see if I can get a little closer. Sorry for the ring light. And that is Main Street. And I wanted to give a huge thank you to Chris Young of Ocala, Florida for model stitching that for me. It is absolutely so special to me. This is the cover for the pattern. And I wanted to include a little street lamp post because that just seems to be one of those essential pieces that you'll find on any small town USA Main Street. Put that down and we will get started on the next one. I thought it would be nice to go a little bit in order by size. The next piece was one of those pieces that as soon as I had pictured it and started designing it, it had a mind of its own, and it made it such a pleasure to stitch it. I never put it down. I finished designing it, immediately stitched it. It is me through and through. I'm sure many of you know I love historical stitching. It is my favorite patriotic stitching and historical stitching, and so this just was a comfort piece to me, and I had a really good time watching it come to life. This pattern is called God Shed His Grace. I'll start this time with this will be your cover. And let me share with you the piece. This is God Shed His Grace. And what I wanted to capture at first was I started with elements that I love. And those are salt box houses. And I absolutely love the thought that at the time when our country needed assistance, and George Washington and Abraham, I'm sorry for the dogs barking. I hope that you can't hear that. I just absolutely love the thought of what faith these gentlemen must have, these historical figures back to a time of a Revolutionary War or a Civil War, that when you hear the stories that they share, the faith that they held. And I thought that through everything that was accomplished, that gave us our freedom, that God was there and that He shed His grace on us. So it's just a little combination piece of faith and history and what they might have needed to carry them through something that I know I'm not sure I would be able to do. So that's God Shed His Grace. Let me get a little closer. My daughter just walked in the door. And so you have two eagles at the top. You have flags and some primitive stars. This was framed at Hobby Lobby. The fabric is 28 count color and cotton light brown sugar, which was a dream to stitch on. The stitch count is 127 by 167. And it uses a combination of Weeks Dye Works, Gentle Arts, and DMC. I loved the frame because it's slightly rustic, but it's still heavy enough that it was rich looking, and it's like a brown and a black. So that's God Shed His Grace. I love the trees in the background and the church. That's just another feature that represents their faith. George Washington with his horse and Abraham Lincoln with a flag. And I love the sweet girl in the background with her pet sheep. I have to admit that even though I love them all, those two are my favorite. Those two bring back, one just means a lot to me, and two, Main Street just has so many memories incorporated in it that it's just a wonderful piece to have hanging in my house now. Okay, so now for some fun littler pieces, I'm going to start with Matilda. How can I have a Nashville show if I don't have Matilda with me? So I have a few new pieces, and I'll start with the first one, which is the yearly Christmas ornament of Matilda. And this year it surrounds a little personal story of mine, which goes back to Christmas Eve as a child. Maybe I was like in 8, 9, 10. My mom made our Christmas dresses. They always had that quilted fabric on the bottom. And when we would go to my grandparents' house every night, every Christmas Eve, my grandmother had one of the big cabinet record players, stereos, and she would always put on Nutcracker Suite. And so when Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairies came on, we danced around the coffee table, and we had our treats and our snacks, and it's some of the best memories that I have. And that is when my grandparents lived in Waterford, Michigan. So we were very close between Waterford and Clarkston, and we visited often. So this is Nutcracker Matilda. She's got some music notes. She's got her sword. And both of my daughters danced and did ballet and were in the Nutcracker Suite as well. So I knew eventually Matilda had to be a Nutcracker. This is going to be your pattern cover. And let me give you the details. The details on Nutcracker Matilda is that she's stitched on 32 count Picture This Plus vellum. That is one of my favorite fabrics, vellum. The stitch count is 52 by 66, and it is stitched entirely in DMC floss. That's Nutcracker Matilda. The next one is, I'm going to share with you a sweet little finish. One second here. Which is Matilda Goes to Nashville. Now the story behind Nutcracker Matilda Goes to Nashville is that last year, when it was my first year, and I wanted to gift all the shops that purchased patterns from me. So I had designed but not finished Matilda Goes to Nashville. I just thought it was perfect, it related, and it introduced them to the world of Matilda. Then I had several people asking if I could release that. So I thought this was the perfect time, a year later, to release Matilda Goes to Nashville. This was finished as a flat fold by Terry of the Old Needle Shop from Groveland, Florida, and it was stitched beautifully by Chris Young, again from Ocala, Florida. It was stitched on 32 count Picture This Plus vellum again. I love how that modeling is just very slight but has some green in it. The stitch count is 103 by 97, and it's a combination of Weeks Dye Works and DMC. And again, finished as a flat fold. And this is the pattern cover. So in this situation, maybe you just are a Nashville lover. Maybe you've been to the Grand Ole Opry and have good memories. If you like different colors, you can change Matilda's skirts or her dress. But I really had a good time with this. Just fun. And that is Matilda Goes to Nashville. Okay, the next one, we're going to jump right into my market exclusive. So this is called Santa Claus, and instead of C-L-A-U-S, it is C-L-A-W-S. And this is bringing two of my favorite critters together in one piece. Now, you wouldn't normally see a cat and mouse together for Christmas, but in Santa Claus you do. So we have Matilda the elf, which was last year's Christmas ornament release, as well as Oscar the cat. Now Oscar the cat, if you remember, is my dad's cat. He is just a funny little creature, and when I knew I was going to design a cat, I wanted to design something after Oscar, and he has really taken off and was one of my best sellers. I will admit my favorite element in this, besides Oscar and Matilda, are the patchwork stockings. Okay, so the details on this market exclusive is that it was stitched on 32 count Grace Notes fabric, color Kenneth. The stitch count is 121 by 78, and it's a combination of Weeks Dye Works, Gentle Arts, and DMC, and it was finished by Hobby Lobby. Kenneth is a beautiful color that Grace Notes Fabrics carries. And that is my exclusive this year. And I'm excited that once we get to market and you start seeing pictures, you will see what else I've done to celebrate my market exclusive. I think you're going to like it. All right, moving on. Let's do another Christmas. This is Under the Mistletoe. This is an ornament release. It is stitched over 2 but with 1 thread, and it's on 28 count nocturne. I wanted it to have a little bit more of a primitive look, and I tend to, when I design for Christmas and when I think about Christmas and Santa and Mrs. Claus myself, I tend to think about how they must celebrate when their night is done, when Christmas Eve and everything's delivered and Santa returns home. What a special feeling that must be for the two of them. So that is Under the Mistletoe. The stitch count is 48 by 70, and it is all DMC floss, finished as an ornament by the Old Needle Shop and stitched by myself. So this was really fun. This was a really fun stitch. It's a quick one. You have very limited colors, so that's a fun one as well, possibly to gift to somebody else too. So this is the cover, Under the Mistletoe. See, and one more peek. Okay, up next, we're going to switch holidays and we're going to head on into Halloween. Well, we all know I'm a big fan of Halloween, so I'm going to start with my favorite. And my favorite is called Witch Parking. There's a little play on words, and I just thought it was adorable. So let me introduce Thomas the Toad, and this is called Witch Parking. Witch parking only, all others will be towed. So we get close. The stitch count on this is 109 by 103, and it was stitched on 32 count fabric flare stone with a combination of DMC, Weeks Dye Works, and Gentle Arts. Let me get a little, just some good. The dyed floss truly makes Thomas come alive. So I want to make sure you can see that. The log, the broom. So I'm going to give a huge thank you to Chris Leedy, Crisscross Stitcher on Instagram, who not only model stitched this for me, but she fully finished it. And I just thought she did a phenomenal job over here and added the beads. And fabric flare stone was the perfect color. There you can see, I think, the modeling better. So Thomas has his potion bottle, and I love a good crow in a Halloween piece. And I hope that you like it. I like the fact that a flat fold for Halloween makes it so nice to display behind something. So you've got a candy jar, or you have other pillow finishes. The flat folds make it so nice that you can elevate. You can put it up on a book, and it's so easy to store. So This is Thomas the Toad in Witch Parking. This is your cover. I love that one. I really do. I can't wait to have him go out. Okay, the next one is just sweet. This is called Witch's Brew. Witch's Brew was a pattern that I designed after inspiration of seeing a little Halloween tea set. And I thought, how sweet would it be for a coffee bar, or maybe where you keep your Halloween cups, coffee mugs. I know I have my own collection. My girls have their collection. So that's where the inspiration came from, and that's where it will be displayed, is somewhere near my coffee bar or with the mugs. And there's this one, we embellished it with a spider charm, which is very easy to come by off of Amazon. The finishing was done by Terry of the Old Needle Shop, and I love how she incorporated this beautiful lavender for the bow and the backing fabric. It was stitched on 28 count casual clay. The stitch count was 100 by 57. I stitched this one and I had a blast. And it was stitched in all DMC. So Miss Mouse is just, she has to of course use a step stool, so she's got her tea box or the maybe a tea canister, and she's stepping up on that in order to grab onto that big spoon and stir her witch's brew. This is the cover. And I think she's just really adorable and sweet. Okay, now, moving right along, the last of the Halloween releases has a little bit of a special story to me, and there was a dedication that was made as well. During my last group of releases, I released Witching Hour, which introduced to you Witch Lillian. And this was a model that was stitched by Tina of Team Egner. And as you all know, we are dear friends, and we share so many things in common, that one of them is just the fact that how much we enjoy Halloween, especially for our kids, decorating, stitching, all things Stitchy Halloween for us girls. So this was something that is a companion piece to Witch Lillian. And when I went for a visit this year to see her house for the first time, she's got this adorable shed in her backyard, and in the backyard is this garden that is dead center to her yard, and it's just done so sweetly. And if you know Tina, then you'll know that that is what you would expect to see. But I thought how cute to incorporate something and create a piece celebrating our friendship and our love of Halloween called Brooms and Blooms. So one of us has the shovel and the watering can, and then the other, which is Witch Lillian, has the broom. So I went ahead and put a spot for each of our initials. So maybe you have a witchy sister, or maybe you have a sister who just loves Halloween like you do. We just get a kick out of it every year. And I just wanted to celebrate our friendship in a really fun way. So there's a little bee skep in the back, and there's some barn quilts on the shed, just like what Tina has, and many of us do, but it's just, to me, it was just a really fun piece that came to life easily. One white pumpkin, one orange pumpkin. Witch Beulah, which is represented by my initials, has the orange pumpkin and a crow and a frog in the pocket. And then this is, Tina is represented by Witch Lillian. And if you know Tina, then you will know that her daughter, she has a daughter named Emily, and she has a daughter named Lillian. And that is how Miss Witch Lillian got her name. So the cover. Okay, the details on this. It was stitched on 36 count fiber on a whim color hazelwood. And then what I did was I used the exact same fabric from Witching Hour so that they could coordinate. The stitch count is 163 by 89, and it's a combination of Weeks Dye Works and DMC. The Weeks Dye Works cranberry ice is what is in Witch Lillian's dress, and it is what makes her dress so beautiful. And it was finished with a frame from Hobby Lobby. So that is the story behind Brooms and Blooms. Okay, next up is my last Matilda piece that was inspired by the original. I wanted to celebrate Matilda's sewing again, and my very first Matilda was called Matilda Mouse. And then I needed a piece for a retreat to hang off my bag, and I created Matilda Sews. And then I thought it would be fun this year to bring something else into that Stitchy theme, and I created Matilda's Stitchy Spot, because don't we all need to have the perfect stitching spot? So this is Matilda's Stitchy Spot, and what I wanted to do is incorporate the favorite words that many of you use and that Linda and I use on our floss too, and it's stitch what you love. So I just thought it might be the perfect little companion piece where you could change up your colors to fit your stitching room or your stitchy spot. And the fabric bolts are next to her under the lamp stand. She's got, don't we all have our little cuddly critters with us when we're stitching that jump up on our lap? And she's got a hot drink, and she is ready to sit down and get some stitching done. This is the cover. And let me give you the details. Okay, this was stitched on 28 count Jobelan lamb's wool. The flosses are DMC and primarily Weeks Dye Works. I used Weeks Dye Works coal on that chair to give it a little bit more of a little more texture, weathered look. But there's only one Weeks Dye Works, and that's coal. The rest are all DMC, so you could easily change that if you prefer to just stick with all DMC, which I love. And that is Matilda's Stitchy Spot. Okay, that brings us to two extra pieces that just happened to get released. They are released now, but I thought I would take a chance to show you up close and personal. I had was a surprise designer at Annabella's winter pop-up retreat, and it worked out really great that we were providing a pattern for the swag bag, and I wanted to have a new pattern as well, so there was something fresh and new in my shop. So the first pattern that I designed for every retreat attendee was "Home is where you hang your heart." This is "Home is where you hang your heart," finished on a paddle board, a board from Hobby Lobby. It's stitched on 28 count, picture this plus bashful, and the stitch count is 87 by 110. It's just a nice winter Valentine, celebrate friendship and love piece. I painted the board a barn red, and then I used some gingham ribbon and created my own ribbon. And the only, I guess, there is back stitching on this because the bashful, the fabric, was so light, which I love. It's just a nice color, but I wanted to make sure that you saw that snowman good because he's way too cute. So that is outlined. The snowman's outlined. So that is that, and this is your cover. And this is the fourth. I have a series. It's called Home Is, and this is the fourth Home Is that I have released. Hey guys, there was a little technical difficulty. So at this point, I'm going to just sit here. That's my Stitchy spot behind me. But back to Nashville, I wanted to just say thank you very much, because there's a lot of people that have encouraged me through this journey, and a huge portion of that is y'all. So I'm going to have Randy insert a picture of Honey Bunny so you can see her. She's already released, so I don't worry about that. You have now seen all my Nashville Needlework Market releases up close and personal. I hope you find something that inspires you to stitch, smile, and think about all those great memories that we have. We'll see you at market, and don't forget to floss.